Travis Wayne Goodsell. Because of all of the chaos in my life, the attacks that forced me to do a lawsuit to put a stop to all of it, and then to have to continue to deal with crimes being committed against me, hate crimes, death threats during this lawsuit, I've not been able to get around to many things that I originally would have liked to have discussed and gone over. And so as the decipherer of Paleo-Hebrew, I found out about total solar eclipse and knew I needed to do some cram study on the biblical signs in the heavens, and so for all this time, I've not been able to get to the vocabulary. I pushed to finish the alphabet script decipherment, but I never got to publishing the vocabulary research that I've done. Same with Egyptian petroglyphs. I'm the decipherer of Egyptian petroglyphs. And the multiple translations that are confirmed in the biblical texts, both Old and New Testaments. And so I've not been able to pursue and complete any of that research. I've done some little sample books, but never completed anything like I did with the Paleo-Hebrew alphabet. And so, likewise, were other ideas and plans for other publications, which later became videos and blog posts, but those also have been shut down. And so, one of them I need to talk about, as we are in a crisis at this moment. The majority of you will know of Candy Crush Saga. It came out in April 12th, 2012. I had still been disappeared by the church's orders during that time period. So I knew nothing of Candy Crush Saga. When I got out in 2014, my first computer was zapped of everything on it, and it's obsolete. It's an XP, and so can't handle Windows 10 upgrade, and so I only have it to play the Pharaoh game, or I guess it's Cleopatra is what it's called, and then the Civilization 3 Complete by Sid Meier's. And so I wasn't aware of Candy Crush Saga until 2015, when I got this computer and my laptop from the reparations for having been disappeared for 6 years. And even then, I didn't touch it. I was like, why are you putting this on my computer? I'll get to you later. I've got other things I'm trying to figure out and work on, like publication. And I was trying to figure out YouTube's video uploads. So you can see some of the earlier videos, even the one that's at 27,000 that everybody seems to be attacking lately in the Mormon Church. You can see that it's got some problems that I'm still trying to figure out and learn about. But it was a Mormon-friendly video, and I'm getting attacked now. Back then, everybody was like, "Oh, wow, Travis is the new hip guy." But now, everybody's attacking me. And yet we're experiencing this crisis in America. But I eventually, after my divorce, I made time to figure out Candy Crush Saga. And I am quite disappointed with it. If you've not been paying attention to world news, China is at war with Hong Kong because Hong Kong refuses to submit to the authority of China in taking away their rights of life, liberty, and property. China says, "Hey, you guys need to shape up and obey us. We just want to take away your rights to life, liberty, and property, and you're not obeying us, so we're going to send in the military to suppress you." And Hong Kong says, "Hell no." And so they've been at war for a year now. Was it last month that we had or was it earlier this month when Tiananmen Square anniversary occurred? And cartoonists here in America were using the police protests instead, as a single protester stands up against the police abuse here in America. But what China is doing in China is a system called social control. They have facial recognition systems that monitor everyone. They have cameras throughout China, in the cities, all over the place. And they have a program that identifies and tracks everyone. No one is able to avoid these if they want to live in society. If you want to be a rebel and be off the grid, be unrecognized, then you get no services to food, clothing, shelter, etc. You have no choice. You have no rights. The way the system works is that if you conform and are compliant, your social rating goes up. If you rebel or you do something wrong, your social credit, your social rating goes down. And when it goes down, you get punished with restrictions. And part of the examples involve game playing. For example, if you are a gamer, you have to conform and comply, which means you have to get a job that will pay you enough money to live on, and you have to be compliant at work, no rebellious posts against China, those types of things. And if you are an obedient citizen, your credit rating goes up, and as a gamer, you are granted extra games to buy with extra time to play them. And that's part of the social control, is that you have to only play the games you are allowed to purchase and in the time you're allowed to play them. If you go over, even if it's just, a minute, you have violated your social contract and your rating drops. And if it drops to a certain point, You get punished by having games taken away and time cut back, limited from you. That's just an example if you're a gamer. It goes to the point where you are denied food. You have to buy certain types of food because you're only granted a certain amount of money to use to buy the food. That's the control they have over the Chinese people of China. And it's horrifying. This is not for their protection, it's not for their security, it's for dominance and control. Because they approve and disapprove, and everybody must conform to what they approve and disapprove. And so here on April 12th, 2012, Candy Crush Saga was introduced to Americans. Developer and publisher is King. So I'm not quite sure who King is. Let me do a quick check to see the origin. King.com, also known as King Digital Entertainment, St. Julian's, Malta. Okay, interesting. CEO is Riccardo Zacconi, but Malta, interesting. The way the game is played, as you, I'm sure, already know, and you've long since, been there, done that, played that. But for me, it's still somewhat new, even though I've played it for a couple of years now. You have 5 turns. As you start play, 5 turns. As you progress through the game, if you're able to advance, you're able to get bonuses that allow you for extra time, extra turns. You get handicaps like the suckers that explode in certain ways and patterns, and etc. But once the turns are up, the game is over. Similar to an arcade game. You put in your quota, you get 3 players, and you get to play the game. After the 3 players are dead, you have to put in another quarter in order to play the game, keep playing the game. Now, Candy Crush Saga has been freely downloaded onto our computer systems. It's the first game we get. Everybody gets it, and if you don't get it, you can go to the store and have it downloaded. And yet, they purposely control your gameplay time for the purpose of trying to get you to spend money for extra handicaps, extra time, and such. And if you refuse to continue to pay them, then you're stuck. Your game is over for the day until you get added time to play, but you don't get the extra bonus features that were first available for you. And so you play at a disadvantage. The game itself is a game of chance. It's not a game of skill. You might think, I gotta do it in the right... No. There are those opportunities, yes. And you can waste your time doing nonsense and lose purposely. But on the majority of cases, they will step in and what you thought was a loser move turns out to be this huge bonus move. And so, yeah, it's random. It's a game of chance. It is not based on skill. It's just like cards, poker. You may think, oh, I'm going to be skillful. I'm going to know when to hold them, know when to walk away, know when to run. No. It's a game of chance. Don't get played and don't get fooled by that. But apparently a lot of people were. And I remember hearing news reports about how children were actually paying to keep playing. And parents' credit cards were astronomical. But this is part of the social control that they were experimenting here in America, as China had already begun implementation of their social control. And we now have facial recognition. We've had it for a long time. And cops have been using it to track people down and such. But this is where we're headed, guys. They're trying to control us as well, and trying to figure out how to do it, and to manipulate us. And they've realized that Americans are like the people of Hong Kong, rebellious, refusing to submit to control. And the only way to suppress Americans is with war. Now we're in it. The coronavirus shut us down, handicapped us, and the police now are out slaughtering the people who are demanding freedom. As we have the executive who's demanding we drink bleach. And so don't be surprised if Utah had their way for social control, that you had to belong to the LDS Church as part of your social control. And thus you had to be current on a full tithe, which is protection racket, and you had to be a regular temple attender as well as church attender in order to increase your social rating. This is what would happen if Utah were to be allowed to implement China's social control here in Utah. Don't be surprised. This is what they want. The church, when they got exposed for the father recording a bishop's discussion about why he was talking about sexually explicit details with the father's daughter, it went viral. And the church wanted to have that silenced and stopped. They don't want to be exposed for criminal activity. And the Utah legislature couldn't help the church on that one. And so the church was forced to conform and comply to the laws of America and compel bishops to read from a script, just like they do for adults. And so if those restrictions of the Constitution and our laws of the land were gone, the church would be in full control to say, yeah, no more cell phone recordings. No cell phones allowed in church. No cell phones allowed anywhere, and you can't record anybody without them giving permission, thus protecting the church so that they can resume criminal activity. And that's what social control is all about. Controlling the flow of media. If you're not familiar, China is not allowed to check out American sites. They're banned. And if they catch you trying to sneak into an American site, social rating goes down. And so a lot of times people will travel outside of China to find out what's going on in America. And that's what you'll expect here in America. is that you won't be able to say, hey, the president just asked us to drink bleach. That's wrong. And then boom, immediately your site gets banned, you get flagged, your social rating goes down, all because you're concerned about not wanting to die. Because you're being critical of the president. Can you imagine what the church wants us to conform and comply to? How dare you expose us for our dealings with Russia? How dare you expose us for the $100 billion fraud in tithing alone? How dare you expose us for exploiting and sexually trafficking children? How dare you protest the further victimization of rape cases at BYU? How dare you expose us for being segregationists of blacks with the Genesis group church? How dare you question our tactics on dealing with the poor from taking away 400 beds? How dare you attack us when we gave women the right to wear slacks? You see what would happen if the church had full autonomy and no one could oppose them, or no one would dare to molest or make afraid? These are the dangerous times we are living in, and the transition that is occurring right before our very eyes. It's a slow, gradual process, and as Candy Crush Saga alone indicates, they've been trying to brainwash us into that programming. See, I won't play their game. I won't spend money for the game. It's free. And so if I lose, then I'm not going to play anymore. And so I wait until the next time I decide I want to play after the next day, when I have all the advantages. But they still continue to restrict my playtime. They don't want me to spend day after day, hour after hour, playing their game unless I'm compliant. And so this is the warning I have for you guys, that if I fail to defeat the church in the lawsuit, if Judge Oberg, and I've got a video about the sign in heaven for the 4th of July weekend, if she decides to betray America and side with the church after I've already won, those are the motions that I've filed already. Hey, everybody's confessing I won. All we need now is the judge's order. Hello, where are you? Give the order. Let's get this over with. If she fails, that's what you need to understand is going to eventually happen. Worse times are ahead. So be cautious. So I expect this video, which is just under 25 minutes, to be uploaded 5 hours from now, as YouTube employees are committing hate crimes against me and slowing down the processing time. So